I mean, first episode, first recording of Legacy Engineers. Dave, I'm kind of excited to do this. A little nervous. Our tagline is coverage, cash flow, and cocktails. So I am drinking a cocktail.
Cheers, my
Cheers,
friend.
cheers, brother. Um, yeah, I'm excited to start doing this. There's the two people that aren't our parents that listen to this probably are wondering why we're doing this. So tell me, why are we doing this?
You know, I've been telling you for a while. We enjoy each other's company. We are geeks. We love the conversations we have. We're very passionate, obsessive people. And in my heart, it's been to start, capturing some of the conversations we have. And if anything, because I think there's a lot of clarity I get in my thinking from having conversations with friends that are disengaged with their life. And for all of you that are, for the first time hearing our voices, my name is David Zapata. I'm here with yours truly, Mr. Paul McHale. And we are two men, two family leaders, two parents, two professionals in the world, just having a human experience. And we want to capture some of the, wisdom in quotes that we've accumulated with the humility that we realize that we don't know what we don't know. And I think that recording this puts a little more intention in capturing these frameworks we see, sharing it with our families, sharing it with our communities, sharing it in our business. I think there's a lot of need in a world where there's all AI and all knowing and information abundance. A little bit of human to human connection on how does this show up in my life and what does it mean, I think brings a lot of grounding to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, capturing wisdom sometimes is a fleeting moment with me, but certainly can tell about a lot of the mistakes that I've made. And when we first started talking about doing this, and you kind of brought up the fact of almost being a little bit of a legacy for our family, especially our kids to watch, right? Because we always, you think about those things. Oh, I'm going to teach my, I have three daughters, but I'm going to teach my daughters about this at this moment. And that moment either it comes and it goes like that, or, something else is distracting at the time, or they're just not into listening to their dad at that moment. So this will be kind of a fun thing to do that. But I also think, we've got a lot of colleagues that I think are out there and not necessarily hurting, some are, but are out there and struggling with the day-to-day shit. The
Yeah.
bills, worrying about retirement, worrying about how many in my profession. I'm an ER doctor. I'm Paul McHale. I'm an ER doctor of, good God, almost now, like, been out of residency for 25 years now, mainly in the Phoenix metro area. But I've got a lot of colleagues that are working well into their uh, late 50s, 60s, and even know some people that are working into their 70s. And sometimes they're doing that for fun,
Yeah.
and they still enjoy it. But I think sometimes they're doing that for financial reasons that they have to. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of money that passes through, all of our hands, even if, you're not a doctor, if you're not an engineer, but there's still a ton of money that flows through our hands. And the more I've been exposed to some of the strategies we'll talk about, the more I've been exposed to figuring out how to save on taxes, figuring out, where you can make a big impact in life, not saving on rice and beans, but really making some big moves where save 10 or $15,000 a year, and if you can put it in the right place over 30 years, that makes a huge difference in your life and in your family's legacy.
So we're talking about, you and I are talking about the different parts of our life, money being a big part of it, money being a big part of everyone's life, everyone's family, everyone's business. So to address the first part of what do we do, who we are, right? You have,
Yeah.
like you said, a medical background. I am an individual that comes from a corporate background. I have background in engineering, and you and I have arrived to this point of our life, deciding that we are very, very interested in being part of the financial services community with a particular focus, maybe an unconventional focus for most people. You and I are both life insurance professionals. We are licensed
Insurance.
insurance professionals. I say that with pride. Whoever is
Goddamn
listening
right.
to me, I'll tell you, suspend your disbelief for a second. Maybe there's more to this story than you know. But I say that up front and I say it with complete ownership. I love what I do. As a matter of fact, Paul, my life changed with a decision from pursuing purpose. I had a career that was great. I love what I did. I used to work in the aviation business. I would have had a wonderful life in that, in the technology world, being at the front of the technology world in the aerospace business. But yet I needed to find more fulfillment in how I saw impact on a daily basis with people that I work. And for me, this decision was very intentional. It took me a long time to make this decision, probably too long, to be honest with you. Fear was part of that decision.
How many years did it? So you're at GE working as an engineer.
Yeah.
When does this start brewing?
The journey for me was not the traditional idea. I had zero desire to be a finance major in college or be in financial services. This was not the goal. I was trying to solve for my life. My girlfriend at the time and me were deciding, okay, what are we going to do life-wise to really put ourselves in a position we love to be? And we were living in Ohio at the time, in Cincinnati. My wife is a medical professional as well. We were both earning great income. We were doing the things that we were supposed to be doing, and yet we couldn't see clearly the path for like how we were going to build a family and how we were going to create a certain lifestyle. So in the consumer role, right, I started looking for advisors and products and conversation. I started educating myself, reading a ton of books. I read about real estate investing and I found all these things. And I found some of the strategies we'll be talking about through that pursuit probably since 2014, coaching services and courses, and I spent thousands of dollars trying to find what the path was. Another piece of feedback, that a piece of the story that's relevant is I'm an immigrant. I was born and raised in Colombia. I came to the United States in 2006, became a citizen in 14. Very honored and proud to be an American, by the way. And this idea of of embracing American values was really important to me, my dad, my brother, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is a man to do coming to this economy, this culture, to grow, to provide, to become self-reliant? Like, all these things were really important to me. So I found these ideas through a book that led to a seminar that led to a conversation. And I was a consumer for maybe 5 years, Paul, of some of these strategies before one person one day said, "Hey, you are reading so much, you are watching so many videos, you are talking about this so much. Why don't you just do this part-time?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Holy cow, I never considered this," right?
Yeah.
Uh, and here we are, 10 years later. This is the thing I think about when I wake up, Paul. This is the thing I think about when I go to bed.
So the moment you left GE, well, the week before you talked to your wife and you're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing a career transition and I'm gonna sell insurance." Like, how does that conversation
You
go?
know what? I am very lucky that I married up and I married a person that,
Yeah, but you and I both, baby.
yeah, that when I have this type of calling, she knows that I don't take it lightly. And Sarah was supportive the whole time. I think, to be honest with you, the difficult conversation was with myself. Like, I had to divorce myself with the identity I had assigned myself. I'm the engineer and I have a master's degree. I worked in one of the most complex products in the world. One of my products is taking off the ground every 3 seconds in the world, Paul. The world doesn't run without this technology.
Yeah.
Sense of importance. And if you put on that and like, hey, I've been programmed to go to school, get good grades, get a job, and get as high in the corporate ladder as you can with your capacity, right? That was my pursuit. And again, nothing wrong with that. I just could see the contrast the more time passed to the fact that none of that vision was I couldn't identify with the people there, so I couldn't figure out who I wanted to be when I grew up,
Yep.
and I needed an alternative path. And divorcing myself from that and the ego part of that, like, hey, it's okay. I'm gonna go from all that to that I pursued for 12 years to being a salesman in life insurance. It took me a long, long time.
Nice. Yeah, my route here was a little I mean, in some ways there's a lot of parallels, right? We both married up, definitely. I out of college went to medical school and quickly fell in love with emergency medicine. So became an emergency medicine room doctor, and I was really, really fortunate to end up down here in Phoenix with some great partners, and we built a group up over a period of 15 years and ended up selling in 2015. And at that point, prior to that, my dad had always been into finance. He retired when he was 55. My parents lived down here in the Phoenix metro area, and I think he gave me a little bit of a love for the stock market. I definitely think he gave me a love for being a perma bear a little bit, and always kind of seeing the ridiculousness of government spending and bubbles and everything.
Regulations. Yeah.
So I did a lot of futures trading, a lot of financial stuff, and to be honest, probably spun my wheels more than anything. I look back and I think if this was like one of those errors, if I would have just freaking dumped every, I'm not sure when the Spy or the Qs came out. I think that was in the early 2000s. But if I would have just jammed all my cash in there and forgot about it, I'd my investment accounts would be greater than they are today. But nonetheless, you concentrate on the things that really make a difference in life, right? So that's one of those things that you learn when you read all these leadership books and all these like how to succeed in life is, right? What makes a difference? And for those 15 years, it was our group, our emergency medicine group, and we had a fantastic group, great partners and blessings, and we sold in 2015. The time was
Mm.
right. Group had gotten big, and there was just a lot of things that it was a good decision, and that put a fair chunk of money into our hands. And at that time, I have three daughters, and my oldest daughter has some disabilities. So that always, as a parent, you always worry about taking care of them for the rest of their life, right? And then you also worry about what happens if you die. It's always mom and dad get in a car crash, what happens? And you never want to put that burden, it's not a burden. I don't know what the hell the right word is, but you never want, my other two kiddos would pick up that flag, and they'd take care of their sister without a doubt. But
Yeah.
I don't want them to have that financial burden, I should say, right? So
Yeah.
um, I don't know where the hell I ran into the information regarding, life insurance. And at the time, I think we had term policies of $2 or $3 million, and somehow got hooked up. Was Patrick Donahoe's old group, Paradigm,
Yeah.
and met our friend Wade, and
Mhm.
started talking to him, and bought a large policy with some of the proceeds of our sale. And that policy had a giant death benefit, but it immediately put me at ease, because I knew that if I was gone, disabled, right, all those things that can happen to us like that,
Yeah.
that Cindy, my wife, and my three daughters, they would be okay.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. My old man doesn't remember this story, but I don't even know how the hell old I was. I was probably 10 or 11. My parents had some good friends, and their friend had had a heart attack. And this was back when angioplasty was just first coming online. And he went, got balloon angioplasty. This was before stent, so it was when they just put the balloon up.
Uh-huh.
And the bad thing about that was there was a relatively high rate of reocclusion, and
Mhm.
he had a reocclusion within a day or 2 days and ended up dying. And they had a bomber place. It was like a condo in this little suburb of the Twin Cities that always used to have this huge like parade in the fall. And we went out there one Sunday after church to help them move or something. And I remember asking my dad, like, well, why does Kim have to move? And my dad looked back and he's like, he basically said, don't ever leave your family without insurance, something to that effect. I remember him using a few swear words. He's like, I never said
Yeah.
that. I'm like, you had to have said something, because insurance just doesn't stick in my brain when you're, like 12 or 13 or however the hell old I was. So I think that echoed, fast forward to 2015 when that was rumbling around my brain, and we had just, ended up, sort of buying our house of our dreams, right, and the house that we're going to live in forever. So all those things coalesced into me at least buying my first policy, and then you end up buying for your wife, and then I've got policies on two of my kiddos, and
Yeah.
then somewhere in the past, you know, 2 years or so, you start going to some of these events and everything, and you start rubbing elbows, and you really find that you resonate with these ideas of saving, security, continuous growth, shit where you don't have to worry. You can literally not worry about it, and you can also plot it on a very sexy Excel spreadsheet, which you have like 48,000 of them, Dave. I know you. Um, and you know where it's going to be in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
You know the band that it's going to be in, and that's very different. I'm a risk averse person, and that really gave us comfort. So just in the past 6 months, I ended up saying I want to proudly kind of say I am going to sell life insurance,
Yeah.
and not be afraid, right? There's a lot of white coat investor dude's probably got like 14 million followers, has made a big business about giving some good financial advice to the physician community. There's obviously a lot of non-physicians in that community. But the one thing that just pisses me off is he has such a bullshit trope about whole life insurance, and he has never ever he has backed away. I know there's been a few podcasters that have tried to get him to come on and actually have a conversation, not even a debate, but a conversation, and he hasn't done it. Jim, if you're out there, fellow ER to ER doc, my two followers will, balance your 14 million followers. Mom, dad, don't say anything if.
You know what? One thing I love about our conversations, man, in the last, I don't know how many months and years, but it's really interesting to you started saying, we have a lot of things in common and there's some things are different. Like we're having our unique experiences. Obviously, you have your daughters, you're an ER doctor, I think that particular in your background is fascinating to me because you are a person present on people's lives, typically in their worst day of their lives. In this equation of risk, of managing risk, your health, your death, a lot of people confront this with the thought, oh, this is morbid. I don't really want to be thinking about the money I would leave people when I die. And I have a very personal relationship to this that informed my willingness to be part of this business, by the way. And you know this, but my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, very aggressive form, stage 4. I've never told a story like this. I'm gonna tell it because I think this is the fascinating part of it. This is the lesson my brother and I take from this. My dad is a really smart guy. He's a professor of quantum mechanics, physicist, and we were in Colombia at the time. My dad was working on his PhD, and he was doing investigation and writing papers and yada yada. And we almost as a family. I'm 13, 10, 10, 11, 12, 13. My brother is 7 years younger than me, so he's basically a baby, right? And our family is postponing life. Hey, when dad gets his PhD, then we'll start to travel, then we'll vacation, then we'll have fun. But dad needs to focus on this. And we live in Bogota, the capital of Colombia, for my dad to finish his PhD. My dad graduates. That is 2000 and the end of 2000. And at the beginning of 2001, we decided to move back to Barranquilla, the original city we were from. And by April, my mom's stomach gets distended and she is diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And life went from like, oh my God, the biggest victory we were waiting for to, oh my God, we're a caregiving family. And we spend more time in a hospital than we spend at home or traveling or doing any of the things we're supposed to do as a young family.
Yeah.
And my mother goes through, I don't know, 20 something chemotherapies, multiple surgeries, all the way to the end of 2002, beginning of 2003, to get declared in remission. She's saved. She's healed. Okay. And we are celebrating this. Like it's a crazy momentous moment for our family. And it's blurry because I think I've protected myself. I try to forget this from the trauma, but uh, months, weeks after that, my mother goes in a coma and she never sees her 44th birthday. My brother was 9, I was 15, 16.
Had a met to the brain.
No, I
No?
think at some point they were just honest. She was in so much pain. They continued to drain her, and at some point she went in morphine, and we
Yeah.
never said goodbye after that. And I share that story not to draw any pity or compassion or anything like that. I share this for the following reason. Um, there are moments that I remember so vividly. I remember picking up my brother with my uncle from school. I went, my dad picked me up from school so we could, my mom died when I was in school. I felt the moment, by the way. I don't know why. My dad picked me up. We went to the hospital. My mom was dead. Everyone's crying. And then my dad said, "Hey, go pick up your younger brother. He needs to come." And I remember so vividly my brother standing, looking at my mom in the bed, and my mom is dead. And my brother looks with this disbelief, my dad and me, like, is this real? Right? There's no thing we could have done to prepare ourselves for that experience. I think you saw that in the ER probably more than you care to admit. But for people that haven't experienced this is such a reality that we don't acknowledge, but is the only certainty in life. The only thing we know, Paul, is
Pretty much.
that we all will get there at some point.
Yep.
And we deal with it with a dismissal of it as if life is infinite. And the other part that I think is really important that I used to share now, I now see that's my light to other people. Like I have to be vulnerable about this, although it's a very painful thing. The reality is that thank God my mom passed away and my dad was the breadwinner and we were in poor, Paul. But my dad had to go to work on Monday, and I took my brother to school because there was no death benefit, there was no protection, there was no asset. And my dad, unfortunately, he was a responsible person. He provided for us. He was a wonderful father. I couldn't ask for better. But we were not prepared to create space in that moment. So for 20 years, we came to the United States. It wasn't until I started having kids that the
Yep.
three of us looked at each other and said, we need to deal with this shit. We've been carrying this baggage. The three of us didn't know how to have conversations about what the hell had happened
Just
to us.
went on that Monday almost like nothing had changed.
It's the game of the strong. I had to be strong for my dad. My dad had to
Yeah.
be strong for me and my brother. And my brother was keeping his wits together as a kid, trying to be happy. And we weren't pretending, but it's hard to have conversations like this if you don't have the framework, if you don't have the help.
Yeah.
And one thing that would
Or
have
the
changed,
time, right? Yeah.
yeah, all the time. And then that's the point. It's like people dismiss that creating space is healthy for you to figure out who you are when that person is not there. So if you fast forward all this stuff that I'm telling you, I'm 32 years old. I married my wonderful wife, and we take some time to be together. So now I'm having kids when I'm 35. I'm a little older. And all along, I've been thinking, I don't know. Now I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old boy, so I'm a little behind the timeline from you. But I have my two boys, and the one thought that comes to mind all the time is I look outside and I look in my kitchen, like, who and how the hell would I do this? Who would I be if something happens to Sarah and I have these two boys staring at me?
Yeah.
It gives me such a level of respect for my dad and such a level of he kept it together because he loved me and my brother more than anything.
Yeah.
But I know this had to be an incredibly traumatic time for him and so difficult. And when I tell you, hey, I'm proud of what I do, is because now I understand the role I'm taking. And this is not for everyone, but for me, for you, I know that when I engage in these relationships and I become part of the wealth team for someone and I help them protect their human capital, the people in their life and their money, because it's not just a death benefit. I know one day, regardless of what we do through their lifetime, regardless of how we use life insurance, one day I'm the one knocking on their door saying, I'm here to give you a hug and a check, and I want to be a shoulder of reason for your
Yeah.
family.
I mean, look, the whole concept of insurance, right? Term life is, everyone used to have, who did have insurance was permanent, right? So permanent life insurance has been around for forever and ever. I mean, I don't know how long. I think One America's been around for 140 plus years.
Right.
And, the idea that you should buy insurance and let it go away at 65 when you can self-insure is it's short-sighted because if Cindy and I have been married now for 30 years. She has been absolutely the greatest gift of any proportion to my
Yeah.
life, right? And um, the amount of energy that she has given to our kids. But if we're 70 and she passes before me, I'm going to be freaking wrecked, right? You know, I'll still have financial considerations, and I've got retirement accounts, but your need for an ability to A, take a check, B, take care of all the finances, and C, take time, never goes away. I know we were talking about this earlier this week where, you know, people laugh about, you know, having policies, because I had one person ask me why I had a policy on my kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, I'm using it for infinite banking, stuff that we'll talk about, you know, down the road. But the other thought is, you know, what happens if one of my kids dies tomorrow? God forbid.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it kind of be nice to get a large check and realize you don't have to work for the next year? You can try and put the pieces together back in your life, and it will never be the same. But you know, I have seen a lot of death in the emergency department, and I've never had conversations with people with regards to what their financial situation. I've had a lot of conversations as people are dying,
Yeah.
and I never want to be in that situation where I'm dying and I'm worried about finances, right? You want to at least be able to know that your family is taken care of, and that does give it gives me comfort. Gives me comfort knowing that that Cindy and my three girls, well, they're fine, right? Whether I'm
Yeah.
here or whether I'm not here tomorrow, and there's a lot of, I mean, that's just one part of the benefit of permanent policy, but to your point, it's a massively, it's undersold in this industry. You know, this industry's, it's sexy, right? It's, you know, infinite banking, buy car, right? All this stuff that is kind of fun to talk about and builds your sort of your wealth circle. But
Yeah.
I think the other things are equally as important. And
We need an industry full of professionals that own this stuff that we're talking about. Hey, I am here, and the only thing, the only reason all the other fancy bells are possible is because at the end of the day, this is a protection of human capital. That's it. It's a transfer
we
of risk.
there's um, I've now known three physicians that have suicided,
Mm, so sorry.
and then a couple others that, you know, have died early.
Hmm.
And you know, GoFundMe pages are not rare for physicians,
Yeah.
which is
Mind blowing.
right.
Mind blown.
And it's not to attack them, but it's to say we gotta, you know, we gotta wake up within our profession, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, if you're single, all right. I will not push a single person everywhere. You should, you know, if you want to give money, whatever, you know, unless you're using it for banking or whatever. But if you are married or have a family, um, you should have a shit ton of insurance on your life, right?
Yeah.
That that to me is one of those things where it's very easy to not do it. It's very easy to think that your investments are going to gain 12% and you're not going to die for the next 30 years. But that's just not reality sometimes.
Let me put a pin on that of what you're saying because I want to double click on that really quick. I think it's really important. You know, one of the frameworks that I shared in my conversation with people when they ask me why do you buy this? Why do you use it? I tell people, hey, a simple way to think about this is people buy life insurance for two main reasons. They owe someone or they love someone.
Hmm. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That is very simple. And I can tell you, I am one of the outliers in your framework of single guy because I bought my first life insurance policy when I was a single guy because I knew that if something happened to my dad, I wanted my brother to be protected.
Ah,
If something happened to me, I wanted my brother
that's
to be
that big
protected.
freaking brain of yours.
And you know, I understood that, you know, for me, the idea of conservation of energy, and this is going to sound super geeky from an engineer, that's what this conversation is about. So you're welcome, right? But the idea of conservation of energy is beautiful. We see it in physics, we see it in science. But I personally, again, believe in it from a spiritual perspective. My mother died very young, but I can tell you there's parts of me that I see unfolding out of me, the way I love my kid. There is no other origin of this, Paul, that the love my mother put on me, and I remember clearly
Yeah.
that just comes out of me naturally to love my kids the way I love my children, right?
Yeah.
The way I treat my these are things that are conservation through me spiritually.
Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
tell you
Come from your
financially,
parents. Apples don't
absolutely.
fall far from the tree.
Absolutely. They are real people. They made had mistakes, flawed, but the only thing I remember, Paul, truly, I never would question how much my parents love me. I got the lottery, brother. I had the stuff that mattered put in me and
Amen.
everything else was going to come. So I'm trying to do the same with my kids. That's conservation of energy, especially because they come from households that was not the case.
Yeah.
They were the leaders, deciding that that's how they were going to create a family and gave me and my brother the opportunity to continue that.
Yeah.
I see financial resources in the same way, Paul. I am going to work my entire life because I love what I do. I'm going to create value. Money will come. All this abundance will be created. We happen to be born in the best place or live at least for me, in the best
Geographic
country
lottery,
in the
baby.
world.
Yeah.
The Ovarian lottery, like Mr. Buffett says, right?
Yeah.
Why would I ever want to interrupt that my opportunity to be productive stops when I'm no longer here? And if I have the opportunity to continue to multiply that abundance I created for my kids or for anyone else, I am not one to stop that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Your your points are well taken, and it's kind of a cool business to be involved in where you can really impact people and
Yeah,
really kind of make a difference. And I know we're gonna, as we go forward, we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of shit that it helps people on a day-to-day basis, right? And has helped our family
for sure.
insanely on a day-to-day basis. But that part, I think is important to for us to kind of circle back and kind of continue. And the legacy portion is to me the biggest. I would love in 100 years, my kids are having kids, and there's stuff that's spinning off from what Cindy and I have started here. And
Yeah.
it takes it just takes that sort of that ability to imagine 50 years ahead or 100 years ahead or shit, even 15 years ahead.
Yes.
Time goes by like that. Um,
Yeah. I,
so
I will just add really quick, that we were intentional, and I think this came from your brilliance, to be honest, to give you full credit of, if you want to understand the core of the inspiration points for our conversation. Our tagline is perfect for this. We're going to be talking about coverage. We're going to be talking about why is it important for us to own this idea of protection, of transfer and risk, of being people that bring that experience, that knowledge to other families and businesses. By the way, this translates to business, not just family. There's a
big
reason
time
for life
business.
insurance.
Like we need to. There's going to be. I almost want to do a special set, right, of business because there's so many docs that run businesses, right? GI docs, cardiologists. They have key employees. They have financial needs. They have revenue needs. They have the liquidity needs, but they also have key man protection needs, right? Even within our own business that I'm in right now, there's always worries about one of your key people go down.
One of your partners.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Uh,
huge to talk about.
I'll give you the basic framework we'll use for this. So we establish people buy insurance because they owe someone or they love someone. There's probably three key areas where people deploy these strategies: estate planning, financial planning, business planning. So we'll talk about all those things and how this becomes relevant.
Yeah,
That's a coverage perspective. And then the cash flow perspective. Hey, most people think of life insurance as if it was called death insurance. The only part they see is death benefit. And if you zoom out, I'm here with Paul to tell you, if you're listening, there's a reason why banks, why endowment funds, where wealthy people, politicians, the top 3% executives in the
use it.
country, corporations use life
I
insurance.
think probably every single president in the past, or who's ever run in the past, probably 4 or 5
Yeah.
cycles use this, right?
FDR died, and half of his net worth came from life insurance proceeds to
Yeah,
his wife. So this is not a new idea. we've just forgotten the wisdom of our great grandparents. It's actually a very American idea. We'll talk about that in a future conversation, but this is rooted in American values, in the economic model we have in America. And I think when people remember these things, they'll start to see the value this could have in their life. But
And for my physician colleagues, privacy, creditor protection, lawsuit protected. There are 1,000 things to love about life insurance with regards to being in a high risk occupation,
yeah,
which a lot of my colleagues are.
absolutely. So we'll be talking about protecting your family, your life, your business. We'll be talking about protecting your cash flow, your money. And then we're gonna have to have some fun in the meantime with some cocktails and conversations
Yeah,
between
I mean,
friends.
so Dave, speaking of cocktails, I'm drinking just a nice standard old fashioned. As we get more and more listeners, I'm sure this is going to go viral. Um, I'd like to propose that whoever puts a comment in and says, "Hey, I listened. I have a question," you also get a choice. Put in your favorite cocktail, and we will. If we answer your question specifically, the next week, the way we set this up, we will also be drinking your cocktail. We'll make that.
I
I
love that
propose we
idea.
make that pledge to our fine listeners. I
Love it.
hope this. I would like this podcast to either be listened to when you're driving home from work, right? Driving home from a shift, or you're out for your morning walk, or something a little bit easy, right? So whether you're drinking a coffee or a cocktail, to have it be conversational, right? And I hope we get some involvement with folks where they have questions, they have honest questions, right? And we're neither of us are in the bullshit business, so I think and you guys will see Dave has the ability to break down macroeconomics, and he'll make slides and presentations that will make your eyes water. I remember the very first time I saw you present, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I walked away. I'm like, I had PowerPoint envy at that point.
Ah, that's why we're brothers. That's it.
Um, But yeah, I kind of look forward to jumping around and talking about different topics, as well as not only looking at the ridiculousness, right? Because let's put it out there, some of the life insurance industry is it's goddamn embarrassing, right? As far as what is out there, and I think people who know us, if you don't know us, give us a chance. But people who know us, our friends and family, know that we're not that, right? We're
Yeah.
serious, and if we're doing this with our own family and our own finances, and entrusting this process, and not only that, realizing the freaking benefits of this process, then maybe it's for you. And this is scalable, right? I make a great income as an ER doctor, and as a business owner, but you can make less than that, right? I was talking to one of my favorite nurse practitioners last night, Josh, and we were chatting about this whole new sort of business venture, and those guys can go in and make over $1,000 on a shift, right? You do that. You take 1 or 2 shifts a month. If you're an ER doc, you take 1 shift a month. If you're a APP, or you take 1 shift a month, and you put that into a product that protects your family, provides a legacy, provides liquidity to use for investments, emergencies, all that other stuff, and it has all the other benefits that we haven't even talked about.
Yeah.
Builds up so quick. You
I'll
just got
I'll
to have a
tell you.
little vision.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Like, what you're gonna hear here, and I gotta tell you, Paul. Like, you know this, but we're not gonna say right or wrong. We're not here to be the judges. We live in a world, and you and I found that this voice was missing in the industry, where like people say, "Oh yeah, that is bad. That is good. This is good. This." What if we just observe, hey, this is common, this is uncommon, and then you make your own decision of what's right for you. This idea of income, I can tell you, we serve people at the level that is relevant and significant for their life. I have clients that are 3 weeks old. I have clients that are over 70. I have clients that are business owners. I have clients that are employees. Suspend your disbelief, educate yourself, and understand whether this is the right thing for you or not from a place of understanding. Period. That's it. It's a decision. And I know this is true for you as it is true for me, but you and I know the best people to decide what's best for them is everyone in their own right.
Yep.
I hate being told what to do. I don't tell people what to do. So try to think for yourself, try to educate yourself and make decisions based on that. I think that, if that resonates with you, this is probably going to be a conversation that um, will sit well with you because you'll see to people sharing their experience
Yep.
and just suggesting what we think is appropriate, not dictating
We'll,
rights or
we'll,
wrongs.
we'll talk about tools.
Yep.
I think we'll bring in some experts on stuff that we know a lot about, but I'm not a tax expert. I just read
Right.
a shit ton about it, right? But we'll
Yeah.
bring in some guys there, estate planning, and even some standard financial guys.
Yep.
Hey, the stock market goes up over time, right? So you should be investing money.
Yep.
There's just I agree with you. There's too much black and white. It's okay to be nuanced.
Yes.
Life isn't binary. Your financial decision making shouldn't be either.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm grateful for you, brother.
Same to
You're the
you,
man. Thank you so much for
David. I look forward to
conversation.
this.
I look forward for the conversation next week.
All right, Kat. We'll talk
See
to
you
you soon.
soon.
All right. And hey, for those who are listening still, if you've made it this far, God bless you. Put in a comment. What do you want us to talk about? Topic and your favorite drink, and we'll put that up. In fact, the first person to put anything down, we're going with that.
There you
Beggars
go.
can't be choosers.
Deal. See you guys.
Thanks, David. See you, buddy.